Welcome to the show, Angus. How's life?
Hello, Lee. Pleasure to be here.
So you've never used Skype before?
This is my first Skype call.
Your
So,
first
as you
Skype
can
call,
tell from the
your first Skype call, and your first podcast.
first podcast,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. It means a great deal, Angus. Um, how long you been sober now?
Coming up 3 months. I have a give up date, which was on the 12th of August this
hmm
year.
hmm
So I'd say about 2.5 months.
And how are you feeling with it all?
So today's a good day. I have good days and bad days,
hmm
but on the whole, pretty good with it. Pretty good.
What does a bad day look like? What goes on?
Uh,
What goes on for you internally? Is there something that triggers you? What constitutes a bad day?
A bad day for me is something that I've been reflecting on quite a bit over the past couple of months, and I would say it's having a sense of purpose or meaning. When I feel I don't have anything to do or it's something that enjoying doing,
Hmm.
that's when I tend to get a trigger to drink. Yeah, just not having anything to do or a sense of purpose really. That's my main trigger at the moment. And that goes back to childhood with me really, is in that I've never really felt I know what my purpose in life is really.
Hmm.
And the longer I stay sober, the more I'm sort of thinking about what is life about, and what is my meaning in life, what is my purpose really. So yeah, just the days where I think, what am I doing here? What's going on? Boredom's a big problem for me as well. If I get
Hmm.
really bored, I had a gambling problem as well. Um, yeah, just those sort of days really.
So when you get bored, is your mind like, especially like today, for example, the Champions League's on, isn't it today? So it's like, so do you get bored and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I need to bet. I want to bet, or I want to do this, I want to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I haven't placed any sports bets for a while, but it just gives you that buzz, that rush. You're involved in something, aren't you?
Hmm.
Just having that involved, really. And I've wasted an obscene amount of money sports betting over the years,
Hmm.
um, but it's filled a void, really, as the drinking did, and the drinking and the gambling together, um, paired with watching football, kind of filled that void really for me. And you take that away, and you have a bad day. Um, what do you replace that with when you've stopped drinking and gambling? So just trying to keep busy, really, try new things, broaden my horizons.
It's quite interesting actually. I can't watch a 90-minute football match anymore since I quit gambling. I used to have Sky TV, so I would fast forward it, a 90-minute game. I would record it, and then every time the ball went out into touch, I'd forward it. And now I cannot watch a 90-minute game of football because it bores me so much, because I haven't got any other added interest. Even my local team, Man United, I just can't be bothered watching them anymore.
Yeah, I understand that. That's why I tend to watch highlight shows now. If I
Yeah, I'm the
do
same.
do tend to
Yeah.
watch the and it picks the best bits out. But yeah, I don't tend to watch any live football matches since the new season started. I really haven't had much interest
Mm.
in other than watching match today, really. And even then, I'm fast forwarding the bits where the pundits are talking. I just want to watch the goals, and
Yeah,
that's it,
the
really.
highlights. So let's
Best
go.
bit.
Let's go back a bit then, Angus. Tell us about your backstory when it comes to drinking. When was the first time you remember actually your first memories of drinking, and how it eventually became a part of your life that was uncontrollable, so to speak.
My first memories. I mean, I come from quite a large extended family, and we used to always have these get-togethers. My father's a big drinker. My granddad was a big drinker, and most of my family are big drinkers, really. So from a very early age, there was always drinks on the table. I think the earliest I ever had a drink was probably 10 or 11, and it would be like your lemonade and a bit of red wine, or your bitter shandy and that sort of thing.
Mm.
So alcohol has always been around. Um, the first time I really started drinking though would be when I was 15. I got a job in a local pub, And it just sort of mushroomed from there, really. From the age of 15, I was 15, 16, I was working in the pub, getting drunk, drinking underage in the pub. And that was like my social thing, really. All through college, right into my early 20s, it just progressed more and more, really. It was Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, out drinking with the lads. And then when I was about 21, I got into taking a lot of Class A drugs, which kind of made things worse, really. I was taking a lot of ecstasy, speed, dabbled in a bit of coke, smoked a lot of weed. And that went right through on until I was about 26. The thing that sort of came to a head for me was I got done for drink driving when I was 26 years old. Lost my job, lost my license for 12 months. It's probably the lowest point I've been in terms of drinking. I didn't stop.
Right.
And I carried on drinking for another 10 years, but until I'm 36 now, so that was about 10 years ago. But I stopped taking drugs then, which did sort of calm me down a bit. But from then onwards, I've just been drinking pretty much every day for the last 10 years.
Did you
Crazy.
when you used to take drugs, did you used to drink at the same time?
Yes, not always. Initially, yes, but once the night sort of wears on and the drugs sort of start to take effect, the less you need the alcohol, really. It's different kind of stimulation, isn't it? I don't know what experience you have with taking drugs, but
Yeah,
if I was smoking a lot of weed, I was for drinking. But if I'd been taking speed or something like that, I'd be drinking a lot more.
right.
But I guess with the drugs, I was just replacing the drinking, really. It's just finding that meaning and purpose. I'm bored, I'm lonely, I don't feel very good about myself. I'll take these drugs. Yeah, that's a good couple of days.
I was going to ask you about that because your story just seems to me like a very don't take this the wrong way, a very ordinary UK upbringing. Unfortunately, you know.
Societal.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, during the 20s, prior to your drink driving, you're taking drugs and you're drinking. Was there any time that you remember where you would be there, maybe on your own, thinking this isn't right or this is going out of control, or did you just not think about it because you actually thought everything you was doing was perfectly fine?
I'd say for about the last 10 years, I've thought that it's been out of control. I've wanted to do something about it, and I've tried to stop drinking many times, many times, but I just never, nothing seemed to click. It's just I just feel different this time. I don't know what it is. I think it's just so much in our British society that drinking and going out and having a good time is the thing to do. It's almost like, I know you've touched upon this from listening to you in your podcast, that we've almost been brainwashed in Western society that drinking is a normal thing to do.
Yeah.
And when you're drinking from such a young age and everyone around you is drinking, and my father's a massive drinker and he's a very big influence on my life, you think that's what I should be doing. But the way that alcohol makes me feel now is it's just not worth it. It just gives me absolutely no benefit at all whatsoever, even though I still crave it. It's crazy, really. In terms of, sorry, Lee,
No, carry on.
I mean, in terms of, my story is quite boring, really. I mean, I've listened to a lot of the stories on your podcast. I've had a really good upbringing. I've never wanted for anything. I've got this lovely house here that will be mortgaged free in 3 years. I've got everything I need in life. I want for nothing. I should be a lot happier than this. But yet, I think my problem is that what's the meaning of life? What am I doing here? Why am I bored all the time? And the alcohol and the drugs have been numbing me, really. I've just been taking the easy route. The easy route is just get drunk, forget about it, get up, today's another day. Once you take the alcohol away and peel back what's going on in your life, what's it all about? So my story is pretty boring. I haven't suffered any abuse or I've been neglected or anything like that. It's crazy, really, when you think about when I think about it. I'm in a very, very lucky position, and yet I've pissed most of my life away, in theory. So,
I mean, I actually believe. I mean, I never wanted to write a book on how to give up drinking alcohol. Never, because I couldn't see the point. Because Alan Carr's book for me was just perfect, and there was no point writing another Alan Carr book. But I do see the value one day of writing a book called The Invisible Alcoholic. I know some people don't like the use of that term alcoholic, but The Invisible Alcoholic. And my definition of an invisible alcoholic is somebody who doesn't realize that they've lost control of alcohol, which is a large percentage of our society, you know. So I don't believe your story is boring. Actually, I think your story is 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 chilling in its simplicity and its normality. The fact that we think it's boring and normal and mundane, and let's be honest, your friends and my friends probably would have a different view if we told them that we were alcoholics, right? They would probably be like, "No, you're not," right? That is the worry for me, and that is why I like to get people like you on this podcast, Angus, is because it is not the people with the brown paper bags hiding underneath railway bridges, drinking tenant super. It's not the people you see in the pubs, like with no friends, every kind of like night of the week, drinking 2 or 3 pints of bitter. It's the people like you and me who are professionals, who go to work, who may or may not have families, who earn decent money, have a good life, but somewhere along the line, alcohol has become as normal as having a fish finger sandwich.
even more normal, I would say, with some of my friends. It's quite crazy, really. It's how much alcohol is in our society now. It's only when you stop drinking and take a look around you realise, what's going on here. Just sitting in a pub nowadays, I'm just amazed at the sheer amount of marketing that's you're bombarded with. It's crazy, really, absolutely crazy. I mean, you look at the tobacco industry and how long it took for that to be so, what's the word I'm looking for? So
Demonized.
criticised and taken thought, demonised, and all. I mean, alcohol should have the same warnings on the packet that cigarettes do. I feel. I work, as you know, I work on the acute stroke unit for the NHS. I mean, I'd say it's about a 50-50 split with the amount of people that we come in that have strokes that have been smoking, that have been drinkers. Drinking is a big factor in a lot of health issues that the NHS is struggling with at the moment. I just wonder where we'll be in about 20 years' time. Will you have a bottle of whiskey that'll have a picture of someone's cirrhosis liver on, like you do with a lung cancer patient on a packet of Golden Virginia? You know, I think eventually society's got to head that way, really, because there's almost like an alcohol time bomb going off now in the NHS with people with severe liver problems and all sorts. I think it's going to become more and more apparent as the years go on. So I think you're really onto something here, Lee, with Needy Helper, and I think you're like one of the pioneers here with looking at this issue.
Well, what I want to try to do with Needy Helper is because, I mean, I want to say straight from the outset here that I agree with you and support the need to have warning messages plastered all over our alcohol, right? I do. I support that, same as I do with cigarettes. However, I don't believe it's going to have that much of an effect. Same as I don't believe when somebody picks up a pack of cigarettes and sees, I don't know, what looks like an half-eaten kind of like mouth or like a zombie mouth. It doesn't stop that people smoking, you know? I think people know.
Yeah.
You know right now that drinking alcohol is no good for you, that it is slow. If you had a drink, it's only going to do damage to your body, not good. But if you succumb to your trigger, let me put it a different way. I don't think it's just your health. Like, you're not just there, Angus, saying to yourself, I am not drinking because it's bad for my health. Like, that's not the only thing that's stopping you. You know, it's like, it just takes over your life. And what I want to do at Needy Helper is is get right back to this word that you use, which is brainwashing, and to help people understand and accept and be fine with the fact that we have been brainwashed. Because I think there's a power in that. I think as human beings, we don't like to be hoodwinked by other entities, whether they be corporations or other human beings. We don't like to be taken the piss out of, do we? And so I want to get across to Needy Helper that we have been brainwashed, because there's a powerful message in that. Because if we realize that we've been brainwashed, especially when we were young and our minds, weren't as mature as they are today, then we can re-brainwash them. and that to me was the key for me, and how I got rid of my cravings and my withdrawal symptoms was literally to reprogram the way that I thought about alcohol, to turn the fact that I've been brainwashed, into a hatred of any body or any company that promotes the thing. Do you know does that make sense?
That does make sense, yes. It's almost like a eureka moment, isn't it? Like the light bulb just goes on, doesn't it? It's like a little ding. It's like, oh, for the last 20 years I've been doing this. And,
actually, Angus,
something else, isn't it?
Actually, my eureka moment didn't go like that. My eureka moment went something like this. Holy fuck! Are you telling me I wasted the last 30 fucking years of my life and I've never actually gained any fucking value from this whatsoever? Who made me do this? Like, where are they? I want to kill them. That was my eureka moment.
Who do I sue? Who do I sue, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's a lot bigger. Again, everything goes down to money. Everything always goes down to money, and the alcohol industry, it plows in a lot of money, especially for the government as well, and they can't see the bigger picture of the cost, the healthcare costs of the alcoholism, and it's just a nightmare. And we're never going to get to the point of prohibition. I don't even know if I like the idea of preventing people to doing what they want to do. However, I think there should be more education, and I think at some point in the future, Needy Helper has to somehow get into the schooling system. It's difficult, really is difficult. Because can you imagine me, Angus, going to school, my kids' school, and trying to teach these children, about the brainwashing of alcohol? Let me give you an example. I went to football training on last Thursday, which is how I ended up getting a virus, believe it or not. And I'm there with these kids who are all 15 years of age, and I'm helping the manager, right? So the manager turns around and says, Lee, block your ears about what I'm going to say now. This is what he said. Okay, block your ears, Lee. And he went round all his team, they're all 15. He said, I don't give a shit if you go out and get pissed on a Friday night, but I don't want you turning up again drunk sorry, I don't mind if you go out getting pissed on a Saturday night, but I don't want you getting pissed on a Friday night and turning up drunk Saturday for football, right? How can I teach kids not to drink when every single kid in that football team, their parents will, and this is going to be very, very controversial, will want their children to drink? I'm not saying they will let them drink. I'm going even one stronger than that. They want them to drink. I've got a leg to stand on, have I? You know?
No, it's very difficult at the moment. We're definitely in the minority, Lee. It's very difficult addressing that subject with a lot of my peers and friends and family at the moment. I'm not really doing it at the moment. I'm just concentrating on making sure I stay sober and giving myself the tools to get to that phase, and then I'll certainly be trying to address that sort of thing with a lot of my friends and peers. But I guess it's just. I mean, in terms of what you said about schools, it's about having an informed, proper education system that will give kids the tools that they can have to make an informed choice. But we've had so many generations that have been hard drinkers. It's going to take a lot of time, isn't it? But
it is different.
It's a difficult one.
It's different. It is different from our day, because my son told me that the other day they have a class called lifestyle class or something, where they talk about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? And the other day they had this ex-alcoholic drug addict who used to abuse his girlfriend or his kids or something, and he was in there telling people, look, don't drink alcohol, don't take drugs, because if you do, you can end up like a complete layabout like I did and end up in prison, right? That doesn't work. Like, that it really doesn't work. The education needs to be completely different. And I always say to my son, I'm going to go in your school and sort this out. My boy's like, do not come into school. Do not, Dad. Because my boy doesn't want his dad to be the dad who teaches people to quit drinking. You know, I think somewhere, yeah, somewhere in there, Angus, he'll be happy when that I'm proud of me. He will be. But when it comes to peer pressure and being one of the boys, we've all been there, right? I remember saying, I am never, ever going to snort anything. Ever. That's my one rule. I'm never snorting anything. Walk into the pub, pissed up. Friend says, do you want to sniff a poppers? What's poppers? Yeah, I sniff this. No, I don't sniff anything. He sniffed it. I took one look at his face. I said, give it, yeah. And for the next 10 years, all I'm doing is sniffing poppers on my nose. You know, it's like, there needs to be something else that prevents you from getting to that point, I guess. And you touched on meaning and purpose. We don't talk about that stuff in life enough. Our parents don't talk about it. We don't get educated about it in school. You know, so I think there needs to be more of that. Anyway, enough of me waffling on. I want to know, Angus, you said you tried repeatedly to quit drinking before. What were the ways you tried that failed for you?
So can you repeat that, Lee? I didn't hear that.
You said that you tried to quit drinking numerous times in the past, yeah?
Yep.
What I want to know is, how did you quit? Were they all cold turkey? Did you try reading books? Did you try taking pills? What were the ways that you tried to give up that didn't work for you?
I've tried cold turkey. Cold turkey worked for me to a certain point, normally up until about a week, and then I got bored again and I started drinking. So I thought after a week, maybe I could have one or two. Or I've got this licked, and before you know, after a couple of weeks of drinking again. So cold turkey's never really worked for me. What's worked for me is trying to do something different, really. I know you talk a lot about the white space. I wasn't aware of this so-called white space. I don't know whether you've trademarked that, Lee, yet.
I better patent it quick.
So for me, it's been about replacing the drinking with something else to do. I actually gave up drinking for nearly a year, a few years back. And the thing that did it for me was I've had periods through drinking where I've been quite suicidal at times. I've never made any attempts to kill myself or made any plans, but the feeling's been there. And I attribute that solely to the depression that was brought about through drinking. So what I did was I thought, right, I'm going to do a bit of research about these suicidal feelings, and I actually ended up volunteering for the Samaritans for 3 years. That was a period of my life that I didn't really drink very much, and I found very rewarding. Unfortunately, my drinking got out of control again, and I left my volunteer position at Samaritans a couple of years ago. But looking back and reflecting on that, that gave me a sense of meaning and purpose. Through my work as well, it's depended on what sort of job I've been in. I spent about 10 years working in children's homes, which is a very, very, very stressful job, which kind of I attribute to a lot of my drinking as well. I left that job about a year and a half ago, and I'm currently doing something that is stressful, but a lot less stressful. So that's kind of given me the space to sort of work on my meaning and purpose rather than just be work. I'm stressed out. Drink. Unfortunately, when I do stop drinking, I tend to go in a bit into workaholic modes. Well, I've got this space to fill, so okay, well I'll do an extra shift that week. But then you're just replacing the stress associated with drinking with more work stress. So
Are you taking those extra
that,
shifts? Are you taking those extra shifts because you're frightened of the white space?
yeah, yeah. It's something that I'm not doing at the moment. I'm just trying to stick to my full-time hours. The nature of my work means that there's always work going. A lot of it can be quite lucrative as well
Mm,
because, as you understand, the pressures on the NHS, there's not enough staff to go around, so
yeah.
they'll give you X amount of money to do a shift.
Mm,
Some days you think, well, am I going to sit watching Netflix all day, or am I going to go out and work on an extra couple hundred quid?
mm,
So. But if ultimately, if you're not doing something that you enjoy, that's not very healthy, is it? So working doesn't really do it for me. So I guess just education. This time for me, what has helped me has been speaking to you, Lee. I think education, personal development, that sort of thing. So that's well, it's working so far. It's nearly 3 months. So
mm.
watch this space. I
Let's.
think I have got a relapse in me, but I haven't relapsed, and I hope not to relapse. But I think it's important to. I'd always beat myself up if I relapsed before. So if I relapsed, I'd relapse big, and then that would turn into just going back to full on drinking.
Mm-hmm,
Now I'm almost allowing my space to have the relapse.
mm,
I'm almost prepared for when and if it does happen.
mm,
I'm going to beat myself up about it
yeah.
as much as I did before. So going back to your question, what's worked for me over these 3 months has been trying to find more meaning and purpose, and you have helped me with that through Needy Helper. Community as well has been very important for me.
Okay.
I've been
Oh.
trying to explore new avenues the past 3 months, go out
Mm,
and do different things. I've spoken to you about effective altruism. I think that's a big part of my operating system anyway, being altruistic.
giving to others. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've spent my whole life working in social care.
Mm,
Um, you do sacrifice a lot of yourself for social care. You're certainly not in it for the money. Um, I've done volunteer work. So I've read that book by Peter Singer. I think I've got it here actually. Yeah. The most good you can do.
yeah. He's got
Um,
two: the most good you can do, and the life you can save. I think is the other one
yeah.
I read.
So I've been exploring that over the past month as well, and I'm thinking, well, okay, it's I'm probably waffling on here. This is the first time I've been interviewed as well, so it's a bit like a job interview, this, isn't
This is a conversation, my man. Isn't
it?
it? We
Maybe
forget.
I'm putting some pressures on myself. I'm putting myself out there now,
Yeah,
aren't I?
don't
So
don't don't worry about the millions of people out there that are listening to us. This is just a conversation between two people. Anyway, let me stop you there. Anyway, Angus, I want to cover a few points that you've raised there or talked about because there'll be people listening to this that might not understand what we're on about. So, white space. What's Angus on about when he talks about white space? Okay, so essentially, I believe that quitting drinking alcohol is not the most difficult thing in the world. The most difficult thing in the world is actually staying sober. It's not returning to the drink, okay? And the reason I believe a lot of people return to the drink is once you take that vow and something changes within you, or you have this catalyst, a desire to change, this all is lost moment or rock bottom or whatever. Once you have that drive, you will kind of like get this momentum going where that pushes you to stop drinking alcohol. You feel all super duper and excited about yourself, and then all of a sudden, because you're not drinking anymore, everything that you used to do that was drink related gets shunts to the side. You have this huge, vast white space of nothingness in front of you called time, which you no longer know how to fill because you used to fill it with alcoholic activities that you no longer want to fill it with. And when you're confronted with this space at the first time, which I call white space, when you're confronted with it at the first time, then all of a sudden you start to become scared. You don't know how to fill it. You lose a bit of self esteem because you think there's something wrong with you because you don't know how to fill time. You might beat yourself up that your life is not really meaningful because if it was, you wouldn't worry about filling your time. Other things that happen is you start to get bored because you don't fill that time, And of course, everybody knows if you drink alcohol or take drugs or whatever your fancy is, it's not boring. Like, being an alcoholic isn't boring. It's actually the reverse of boring. It's quite manic, right? So you start to think it's boring. You think back to your old life that it was not boring. So you start to drink because you don't want this boringness to consume you and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's what Angus was talking about. And what Angus is finding is, what's the best way to fill that white space? He talked about meaning and purpose a lot in the first 30 minutes of this call. What I try to teach at the Needy Helper is, let's not fill this white space up with just anything. Let's fill it up with stuff that aligns with our meaning and purpose, what I like to call themes. So let's find a theme in our life which is really important to us. And Angus's theme is kind of like service stroke transformation at the moment, And once you find what that theme is, everything then you do, all the actions you take to fill that white space aligns with that theme. So everything that Angus does, if he wants to provide joy and happiness in his life and keep him away from the bottle, is to serve others. And effective altruism is something that we're going to be doing at Needy Helper quite a lot. 5% of every product that is sold at Needy Helper will be going to effective altruism, and hopefully throughout time that will grow and increase. So that was white space that we were talking about. The other thing I just wanted to cover there for everyone listening is Angus talked about ploughing yourself into work. So a way of like avoiding the white space is working a lot. Now, it all depends on your job, okay? A lot of reasons why people drink actually is because they hate their job. It's one of the reasons that they do it. Our career can be very stressful. It was, all different kind of ways. And I certainly drank a lot because of my job. I now know that. And I didn't know that at the time. And I hated my job. However, a coach got me to see that if I would have taken the bee out of my bonnet, I think that's the right word, and stopped complaining about my job, I actually could have found things that I really loved about it. And had I taken the challenges, the things that I hated, and took them as challenges to overcome them, and actually plowed my efforts into the things that I love, I could have made my job more enjoyable. And the reason I raise that is there'll be people right now, and I know Angus is one of them, who is saying to themselves, wow, I kind of like, my job's okay, or I hate my job, one or the other. It doesn't really provide me with the greatest kind of like fulfillment. I do kind of help some people, but I'd much rather be doing something else. But I've got all these bills to pay, right? So you might not be able to leave your job. So if you can't, figure out a way of making your job really interesting and joyful and interesting, and think outside of the box, and don't be confined by, my boss says I have to be in at 9, I have to leave at 5, I have to sit at this desk, and I have to do this work. Like, try to think outside of the box. So I just wanted to talk about work. And finally, I just wanted to talk about, Angus then touched upon relapse. Relapse is a part of quitting drinking. It's not to be thought of as outside the drinking process, and it's not something whereby we beat ourselves up about it and we start to go a little nuts if we do relapse. Okay, now that doesn't mean we're playing Monopoly and we've got this get out of jail free card, but written on this card is get to the pub and get pissed one night, because we all know a relapse isn't like that, right? We don't just go out and drink one night. What happens is we drink one night and then we say, or the resistance in our mind says, fuck it. And you drink as much as you can and gamble as much as you can and take drugs and do everything else that you promised yourself you wouldn't do when you was going through your recovery, as much as you can, for as long as you can, before eventually someone grabs you by the balls and says, whoa, 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 what happened? And then you start again. So a relapse isn't just a one-off. It's like a smash in the face that lasts a couple of days. But it's part of the process. And as long as you can understand that and be very reflective on what caused it and what happened while you were going through it, and then learn about your triggers so you can create actions that mitigate reoccurrence and put them in your life somehow, then relapse actually becomes a good thing, because let me put it this way. Let's say Angus is a poker player, right? And you, Angus. All right. So me and Angus know that if you have a weakness in your poker game, it's called a leak, right? But some poker players don't know they've got leaks in their game, do they? and they think they're good at poker because luck makes them win a few pots, and they keep on playing and keep on playing, but all of a sudden they don't win so much and they're not doing so well, but they don't really know why because they don't know what their leaks are in their game. I believe people who have addiction issues, particularly with alcohol, we have leaks in our life, in our game. Angus will have leaks that he is aware of and leaks that he is not aware of that will lead to him drinking alcohol. Another word we could use here is triggers. If you have a relapse and you identify that leak, but you never knew it existed before, it was just a time bomb waiting to go off. But now you've identified it, you can do something about it and you can plug that leak. And it's at the Needy Helper, what we try to do is we try to help people identify those leaks and to hold their hand and to give them a hug and to walk them through and to provide tips, education, tools to kind of like help them to plug those leaks. So there's a few things I just wanted to cover then that Angus talked about. We'll talk about effective altruism again in a bit. One question I want to ask you, how has loneliness impacted your view of white space and your mood and everything to do with not drinking? How does loneliness affect you?
For about 4 weeks after I quit drinking, this time I was very, very, very lonely. I'd actually hit rock bottom about a month before I gave up drinking. I was engaged to be married. My fiance left me because of my drinking. I tried to kill myself. It wasn't because of that, but it was because of that. So I was very, very, very lonely because not only had I given up drinking, my wife to be had left me. So it was a pretty dark space. Mm. I'd felt suicidal before that. I'd been signed off work. I'd been on medication just to help me sleep. I'd then come off that medication, gone back to work, but I was having trouble sleeping, which in effect was making me feel tireder and lonelier and more low in mood. So the first 4 weeks were very difficult, but I was determined not to drink. I think what helped me in that 4 week period was the community, being able to check in on the Needy Helper Hub certainly helped. And for them 4 weeks, because of what I was going through and all of the friends that I have around me, they're all big drinkers. I think I can count on one hand the number of friends I have that aren't drinkers. Mm-hmm. Them first 4 weeks were a very, very lonely space. But checking in on the Needy Helper Hub and just having the support there, I genuinely feel got me through it. I think I'd probably still be drinking today if I didn't have that to lean on. That's a tool that I didn't have in my arsenal before I gave up drinking this time. So that certainly helped me with the loneliness, knowing that I had, even though it was only a small community, I think there's only probably two or three of us.
There's me, you, Art, Eileen, and Liza.
Yeah. So,
but it's nice, man. It's nice.
But it worked. It worked.
Yeah.
I had the community. I had the like-minded people to talk to, and I think that's what I needed. That's what I didn't have before. Mm. So I was very lonely for 4 weeks, but then I was through talking to the community. Well, people were like, "Well, try this, try this, try this, try this," and thinking, "Oh, okay, well, I'll try this, I'll try that, I'll try this." And just educating myself. I started listening to podcasts. You recommended books to read. You did a video for me on how to get a good night's sleep. Just educational things, really. So I kind of replaced the loneliness with education. Whereas before I'd probably just watch a film or something, or just get drunk or go out with my mates or play some poker, do some gambling, watch some sports. Now I'm tending to seek out more educational things to watch. Listen to podcasts, reading books, that sort of thing. My poker game's improved because I've got less of a gambling streak and more of an analytical streak now, and I'm doing it for something. I'm doing it for altruism rather than doing it for myself. I'm doing it for the better good. So I'm thinking a bit more strategically, and that my poker game's certainly improved. Although I'm not really playing much at the moment because I do limit myself with my poker now because I could spend 12 hours a day playing it, and that's not healthy. And that's when I start to get low in mood as well.
Yeah.
If I play a few hours once a week, that keeps it healthy. But the first 4 weeks were very lonely, but I haven't really felt that lonely. Even though I've been spending a lot of time on my own, I've been replacing that time spent with self-improvement. And it's not something I've done before. And I'm a pretty smart person. I never went to university. I got really good A-levels, good GCSEs. I could really, if I applied myself, be a lot higher up the career ladder. But I think because I've never really had that sense of purpose or that meaning to life, or never really known what I want to do, I've never really achieved what I could achieve. But you take drinking out of the equation and put a sense of purpose and education into the equation, I feel like I could probably achieve a lot more now. So yeah, the white space has given me a clearer head, Lee.
Yeah, and I actually, I mean, we've got poker in common. One of the many things we have in common. And I was talking to Liza today about this. I said to her, can you imagine me playing poker now? And she said her exact words were, "No, thank God." And the reason that I don't play poker now, and I used to play every Tuesday night in this home game. I would be there at 6 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock in the morning, and then my Wednesdays would be washed out because I'd be in bed all day, right? And that would be religiously plus online and all that kind of stuff. But now the thought of me playing poker for 12 hours horrifies me because I cannot do two things at once, right? I cannot help Angus. I cannot record this podcast. I cannot help Eileen. I cannot help Art. I cannot get training courses done on that I'm trying to do for everybody while I'm playing poker. So something happens with you inside once you start thinking about meaning and purpose, and I think it's happening to you at the moment, is your internal GPS system seems to have come alive and has come alight. And although it still doesn't know where to go, it still doesn't know where to go. It's woken up. It's operational and it's vibrating, and every now and then it's kind of saying to you, "Oh no, don't go there," you know, because you were playing poker recently. But you were doing it to earn money for effective altruism, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And any profits were going into a pot to buy some food from a local food bank.
Yeah.
I thought it was a more, and I decided this before I read the Peter Singer book, The Most Good You Can Do, because I didn't really want to give the money away to a faceless charity or anything like that. I wanted to be actually involved in it, so I wanted to take my first profit was £150. I wanted to take that down, get the most value for that £150 that I possibly could, and take that food and deliver it myself to the food bank. And that for me is a more effective way of giving.
Yeah. And
because I was playing poker, not for me, but for someone else, I played better. I didn't gamble, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, whilst I was playing, some of my old triggers sort of sneaked into my game. And whereas before I would have gone off a mad sports betting spree and probably lost all my winnings and eaten into my bankroll, I realised this and I thought, no, stop, take a break, withdrew my bankroll. I was up about £200, I think, initially, but I ended up £150. I'd have never done that before if I was drinking. So that's progress for me.
And you are making fantastic progress. And the reason that I wanted to get you on the podcast was 3 months sober. There'll be a lot of people thinking, wow, I wish I could get 3 months sober. And we're going to be creating a mentorship program on the Needy Helper in due course. And the reason I wanted to do that is I would like people to be a mentor when they're 1 month sober, 2 months sober, 3 weeks sober, to mentor other people who want to get to 3 weeks sober, 1 month sober, 2 months sober, because I've been sober now for a long time. And I can't remember what it was like to be sober in that first week. I can't remember what it was like to be sober in those first 3 months. So I really believe there's some power in people listening to what Angus is saying right now, what is really working for him this time around. And I think I'm going to recap what you said, and you can just tell me if I missed anything, and we can expand on it, some of them. But it sounds like you got onto the Needy Helper Hub at the right time and just started really checking in. So checking in on the hub is like a diary. It's like our daily diary. What happened for me today? How I was feeling emotionally. You were doing that, and then we were then providing some feedback. And then there's also channels in the Needy Helper for you to say, I would like some help and guidance in this area. And then we try to provide help and guidance in that area. And just by having those conversations with people who understand what you're going through and are similar, like-minded in that way, allowed you to start building new relations outside of the existing relations you had, which were very based, not completely based, but very based around alcohol. And that gave you the springboard to think more and more about theme, about meaning and purpose, which you're still doing at the moment, still going through in your mind. We've got a training course that will help you do that, going to be released in the next 2 weeks. But also reading books, learning about things like effective altruism, which is effectively giving money or your time to something that helps reduce suffering in the world, but instead of just instead of giving to a cancer charity because that's dear to your heart because your wife died of cancer or something, you are instead using an analytical approach to see how many more lives you could save with your dollar if it was invested in the right way, taking the view that every single life in the world is equal to every other life. So rather than saying, I need to save lives here's a good example. I won't give money to charities that help alcoholism, despite being in that business, because I would rather give my money to buy bed nets to save children from dying from malaria in Africa. And some people might find that a bit strange, but I know that for $3,500, I can save a child's life. For $3,500, I can save a child's life. If I gave $3,500 to a charity that helped alcoholics, I wouldn't save a life with that. So to me, it's all about saving lives now. And Angus is getting involved in that, and the Needy Helper will get involved in that as well. Did I miss anything there that's been helping you in this last 3 months?
No, I don't think so, Lee. I think you've summarised that pretty well.
So you said what a bad day looks like for you. What does a good day look like for you?
A good day for me would be a good night's sleep. I can normally gauge how my day's going to go on how much sleep I've had. A good day for me is I feel like I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. I have a plan, really, and I feel like I have a sense of meaning and purpose. That does change day to day. Something that has come alive in me has been all of this thinking about altruism and effective altruism as well. I think I've always had it in me to give to others, given my choice of career and volunteer work, etc. I actually went one stage further recently, and I decided to set up a peer-to-peer lending platform. I don't know whether you've heard of peer-to-peer lending, but it's based. So the idea behind that was I've done a lot of reading and listening to podcasts around effective altruism, and I was thinking, right, well, I could give, say, £1,000 to buy some mosquito nets. That would be a brilliant donation, very cost effective, so save a lot of child's lives. Mm-hmm. What if I took that £1,000, invested it, and in a year's time it's, say, worth £1,100, mm-hmm. and from that £1,100 I could put, say, £50 back into the platform and use £50 to buy some nets. Over the course of my lifetime, that would be a lot more effective way of giving, because when I'm older and when I die, I could potentially donate 3 times as much money. Mm-hmm. So it's something I'm looking at setting up at the moment. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually really enjoying doing it. I get up every morning. I'm looking at all the different businesses they have got on there. I'm putting money on there. I'm working out. Oh, can I lend some money to this business? Or what they likely to pay it back to me. So I'm kind of getting into investing really as well, and just it's something that it's showing me a lot of interest, and I never really thought about it before. So yeah, maybe my meaning and purpose is setting up or getting involved in a business around that, which is something completely different to what I've been working for all my life. So
Well, there's another
yeah,
lesson. There's another lesson in there as well. You like gambling, and you as a gambling addict, and this new peer-to-peer lending system sounds like it's providing you with the same kind of, almost like the same kind of happiness and enjoyment that the gambling would without the
yeah,
addiction of the gambling. So when people, so this is a good point here, because people will say, "Well, I drink alcohol because I want to have a laugh. I want to have fun." Okay, well, let's think of all the ways you can have fun that don't involve having a drink. If it's only about having fun, right? So you can replace this one thing, drinking, which provides us with this value, which is fun, with this other thing, which is I'm going to go to the cinema every night, which gives me fun, you know. And you're doing the same with that as well, which I think is really good. Well, good news for you. We're going to have we're going to create a set of videos on. Well, we're going to create the needy altruist. So on the Needy Helper Hub, and we're going to start putting 5% of everything we earn through Needy Helper to effective charities through givewell.org. And we're going to try to encourage people, it's up to them, but we're going to try to encourage people to join the 1% Club. So we're going to try to get people to use the art of service and use the art of giving back to help people in their recovery by donating 1% of what they earn to effective charities. And as and when they feel they can extend that, maybe set an annual goal of going 1% higher, doing that same thing. So we're going to be interviewing one of the board members of Raising for Effective Giving. We're going to be interviewing him this week or next week, I think. We'll be talking about everything to do with effective altruism. Before I interview him, everybody on the Needy Helper Hub will be able to provide us with a set of questions to ask him. And I'll make sure I ask them to him, and then we'll get that video up there as well for you. Quick few questions for you, Angus. You said about podcasts and books being really important to you. What have been the best books for you and why? And what have been the best podcasts for you and why?
well, mainly I've been listening to the podcasts on your site, Lee. There's a broad selection of different people with different stories on there, so I'd highly recommend that. You also
That just sounds like I just pimped my own podcast.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to point out that Lee has not paid me to.
I like it. No, seriously. You've been listening to the Alcohol Addiction podcast. You've been enjoying
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I couldn't off the top of my. I really have not prepared for this interview, Lee, so I couldn't tell you the names off the top of my head. But I'm approximately halfway through the people that you have on there. A lot of the ones that rung mostly true of me are the ones in and around poker, because obviously I have an interest in poker. The one that really strikes me is one from a gentleman who you only gave the first name, Adam. That podcast
from Burning Man.
Burning Man. That was a very, very interesting podcast. In terms of books, I'm reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Good book.
Anything by Peter Singer. One thing I have been really getting into at the moment as well is I don't know whether you've heard of a documentary maker called Adam Curtis.
No.
He's got a lot of documentaries in and around politics and philosophy and that sort of thing. So I've been listening and watching a lot of his things. I've also been reading a lot of existentialism as well. I don't know whether you know anything about existentialism. Anything sort of philosophy based, really, on life and meaning and purpose, and just getting someone else's point of view, really. I suppose I'm a budding philosopher myself to a certain extent now. I've removed the shackles of the drink. I've been doing a lot of writing as well. I never really saw myself as a writer, but one thing is when you're blogging, you're writing, so you've got to concentrate on making something readable, really, isn't it? And I think there's potentially a bit of writing in me as well.
Yeah,
that's something I'm exploring. So yeah, just get out there, read all the books, the recommended books on the Lee Davey website. I just want to point out he has not offered me any money for this podcast.
Yeah. It's funny actually because since I started doing the podcast and created the hub, I actually don't write any blog posts anymore or book reviews on the website. It's just
Yeah,
and that's purely because, as Angus knows and most of the listeners here know, Needy Helper doesn't pay my bills. Needy Helper will, I don't know, will probably pay half of my mobile phone bill a month. Um, I have to write articles. I'm a writer, so I have to write articles. So when we finish now, I got to write all night because the World Series of Poker main event is on tonight. So I have to stay up all night, watch it, write about it as it's happening, and that takes up huge amounts of time. And once I'm able to transition fully to Needy Helper, we can start doing a bit more than that. Okay, I want to finish off, Angus, by doing two things. I want to explain to people why I believe you've got to 3 months sober, and why I believe in my heart quite confidently that you will be sober for the rest of your life in one form or another. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. And I want to tell people why that is, and offer you some gratitude, and it'll all be bludged into the same speech. So, in my view, watching Angus on the Needy Helper Hub, and if you want to learn from Angus and how to get 3 months sober and everything that Angus is doing really well, get on the Needy Helper Hub. It doesn't cost you a penny for the first month. And then after that, it's cheaper than Netflix, right? So if you've got time to spend watching Netflix, you can spend a fiver, of which 5% of it is going to effective altruist charities. Get on the Needy Helper Hub. £5 a month is nothing. And get talking to Angus and everybody else on there. The reason Angus is sober right now, and the reason that he will be sober, two things going on here in Angus's life right now that I can see from the outside in that not a lot of people have. He is extremely proactive. he is not allowing life to happen around him. He's affecting the life around him by deliberately making different choices in his life and understanding that choice, what he thinks about, and his mind is his, and it's the only thing that he can control. And all of a sudden he's realised that, and he's starting putting that to good use. Angus asks questions, but then he listens to your feedback, and then he goes and does something with that information. Most people ask questions. Some of them listen to the feedback. Very rare does anyone take that feedback and put it into action. And after putting that feedback in action, Angus will come back and ask even more feedback. That is even rarer again. I love listening to Angus's check-ins on the hub because he'll say things like, "Oh, I tried this the other day and it worked," or "I tried this the other day and it didn't work." Or, for example, we talk about effective altruism. I say, "Angus, why don't you listen to this podcast? Why don't you read this book? I think you might like it." The next thing you know, he's created a peer-to-peer platform for effective altruism. Think about that. I asked him to read a book on effective altruism. He didn't just read the book, he created a peer-to-peer network and now realises that his theme in life is strongly linked to service and effective altruism, which I guarantee you will be the reason that he leaves booze well behind. Because all of a sudden for Angus, doing the best he can and saving people's lives will be more important than destroying his own. And not drinking alcohol and being lucid will allow him to do that. So he's very, very proactive. He's very, very reflective. And also what happened when Angus first started to educate himself and his white space opened up in front of him, he actually came to an impasse where he felt a little bit overwhelmed. Do you remember that?
Yep.
And rather than be afraid of that, and rather than capitulate and go back to his old way of being, he just said, "Okay, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed here right now. I'm just gonna take my foot off the gas a little bit. I'm just gonna be a bit reflective on this, think about it, and then just see where it leads me." And we all knew in the hub to support him during that time in a different way than we were supporting prior to that. So one minute we're chucking all this stuff at him. Angus, go do this. Angus, go do that. Angus, go do that. And he's like, yeah. And then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, Lee, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. It was like, okay, just chill out, and then just come back when you want some more. So I think that was really important. So I just want to say, Angus, I'm really grateful to you for being one of the founder members of the Needy Helper Hub, for checking in every day. I always look forward to it. I always panic when people don't check in. Maybe it's this addiction thing. I don't know what it is. I'm addicted to people not checking in. I love the way that you put your arms around people like Art and now Eileen and really encourage them and use what you've learned to help those as well. I think that you are a great role model, and I think that your willingness to do this podcast and to share what you've learned in these 3 months and to make this your life's work in almost to get into service, so I can see you in the future getting stronger and stronger and stronger, getting further and further away from this craving, this withdrawal, this thing that drags you back, getting further away from that, and then helping more and more people like yourself to overcome what you're going through right now. And I think that's a great and wonderful thing for any human being to give their life to service. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And you were a great guest as well, man. Yeah. Anything you want
First interview on Skype.
First interview on Skype.
First time on Skype, and then first time, in at the deep end. Yeah. I didn't even prepare for this as well, so I think I've pulled it off.
Off the top of your head, ladies and gentlemen, Angus Malcolm.
Go
on. Do you want to say something then?
I'm just going to say community is very important.
Yes.
Community.
Yeah. Community. Thank you, Malcolm.
Take care.